Welcome to Allestree Park, a haven for wildlife in the heart of the urban hustle. A sanctuary where a new initiative, urban rewilding, thrives. Picture this, cities getting busier, our planet is feeling the heat, but here, in this park, things are different. We're not just talking trees and grass. This place is a lifeline in the midst of the ongoing climate and mental health crisis. The serenity of these reclaimed spaces offers solace. Allestree Park isn't just a park. It's a story of hope and healing in a time when we need it most.
Allestree Park has become recognised across the UK as the UK's largest urban rewilding project, so people are getting really excited about that. And as you look around, you can see why. You've got this amazing park. It's such a great place for nature, and it's becoming even better as the grass grows and more nature returns to the site. I think it's also important to recognise that actually it has been a local nature reserve since 2002, and so there's been a lot of work from volunteer groups, people like the Friends of Allestree, the local fishing club, and many others to actually get it into this, amazing natural place, even ahead of the rewilding project starting. So if you look around, you've got this mature woodlands that runs around more or less the edge of the site. You've got meadowlands that was already in place, and what that means for the rewilding project is you've got these borders that are going to bring nature in as the central part of it rewilds as well.
These projects don't just start and end with acquiring land and thinking that's okay, or working with different councils and different communities and thinking that's okay. We need to actually go a little bit further than that. So it's about recognising that there's actually inherent structural issues as well in place. A good example is simply like accessible transport. That's something that we need to be aware of. And one of the biggest things that I feel like we should work on and are working on is that idea of co-creating and co-producing. So when we say that nature isn't equitable, we don't have all the answers to actually address that. In fact, we probably don't have the answers to address that. So it's about working with the community groups and individuals who actually have real life lived experiences. Everyone is connected to nature. We can't say how they should connect to nature or what they should do with nature. It's about how they want to do it.
Oh, it's absolutely lovely. It's great. I think we always liked the park, but I think as nature's kind of taken over, and we've seen more changes in the kind of fauna and flora and more wildlife, and it's just an endlessly changing place. So you notice new things all the time. I guess when it's all mowed and neat, it's very, the park remains very, very much the same. But over the last 18 months, 2 years, with the different kind of areas of the park that have started to reclaim, myself and my wife both really enjoy just being outside in the park. Yeah, get lots of lungfuls of fresh air and a lovely scenery. So
I love it. I love the change in the seasons, because they've got let the grass grow in the summer. When you walk along, you can see the different colours of the grass, much better. I mean, round the lake, I love it round the lake. It's peacefulness around there. The dog loves it, loves the change, loves the woods. It's just a fabulous place to be.
We want more people out in nature. We want more people to benefit from their mental and physical well-being from being out in nature. We are in the middle of a nature and biodiversity and climate crisis, so we want people to be aware of that. So a lot of the work of our Wilder Communities team is focused around getting people outside, all the way from, we do things like nature tots, where we work with preschool children to try and get them out and get them into nature as early as possible. We work with schools and support staff in schools and nursery staff and educators to try and get them to encourage more of their children to get out in nature. We work with parents and families.
Grew up here as a child, fishing, playing, etc. And we were lucky enough to move to a house that backs onto the lake about 8 years ago. And that was around about the time the Earl of Harrington's Angling Club took over the management of the lake and the improvement of the ecology. So I got involved as a volunteer, and here we are kind of 8 years later, I'm on the Friends of Allestree Park committee as well now, so yeah, it's good to be involved, and there's lots to do. We think what had kind of happened probably around 88, 89, when they drained the lake for maintenance purposes, the marginal vegetation, there was a lot back then, it really suffered, and they kind of died off, and as the water levels came back up, the trees became dominant, and it kind of affected the reeds that are so important for the recycling of the nutrients. So the lake ended up getting quite silted up, quite stagnant, quite malodorous really. We put about 40, 50 tonnes of powdered chalk in to work on the water quality and bring the pH back into a more beneficial range for the wildlife. That's been going in 6 or 7 years now. So that's made a massive difference to water quality. And it's all around really increasing the amount of light and wind that falls on the water obviously, to sustain the environment.
I used to come here as a child as well, so that's 70 years ago, probably at least 65. I used to come with my parents blackberrying, and then when I got into teen years and moved away, but I came back 30 plus years ago and I've been coming back ever since. I suppose it's the social aspect of it really, because you come here and you're always bumping into somebody you've perhaps seen frequently or never seen them before. But for me personally, my well-being, I tend to be relatively easygoing, laid-back sort of person with my day-to-day life. So it does enhance it a little bit, but it does help from thinking that if I'm going to be staying in the house all day working, then coming out here for a couple of hours sort of boosts your rest of your day.
I hope there's lots more of this, and I hope that it actually comes more and more into urban spaces and actually into inner city areas as well. And the reason why I think that it will go down that trajectory is that idea of co-creation and co-producing is actually growing and growing, and it's about actually supporting people and empowering people with what space that they do have, protecting and enhancing those spaces, making sure that they are not only connected to the spaces that are in front of their doorsteps or within their areas and their green spaces and their blue spaces, but it's also about helping them and supporting them actually.
I think one of the features of working in a space like this, there's an awful lot of people that already come here and already use this space. So that's a really important aspect of the Rewilding Allestree project, is that we take into account all the different people that come here and treasure it already. And you see that in so many ways, like people collecting litter, like the way that all the dog walkers that are here are collecting the dog waste, like the way that people look out for species and what's happening on the site and work with the parks team to try and make it as good as possible. So yeah, there's a lot of people that love Allestree Park, and I think there's a lot of support for making it even better for nature.
I mean, after the Norman conquest, it had been owned by a series of wealthy landowners really. I mean, the current park was enclosed in the late 1700s when a wealthy landowner from North Derbyshire bought the estates to build a villa near Derby, and it wasn't completed to the same standard, and he never really lived in it. Then the Evans family, who live over at Darley Abbey, they owned the mills, etc. Very, very wealthy family from the Industrial Revolution, owned the hall. I think it was William Evans in about 1820. He started the construction of the lake, and it was all dug out by hand, finished in about 1825. And the records of who actually did it have seemed to have not survived the sands of time, unfortunately. So it's unclear who actually is responsible for the design, because it is man-made. But yeah, it'll be 200 years old soon.
When we first started walking here, the park was a golf course and park. When the golf course started to kind of wind down a few years ago, we really started to notice a change in the park, the people that were coming to the park, and yeah, just the surroundings as it's changed. So we've seen quite a lot of changes. And then through the pandemic, the park was really busy because obviously people wanted somewhere to get outside and have some space. And yeah, just seen quite a change in both the nature of the park, but also the people that come here as well. I really enjoy walking here at night. It's peace. It's just really, really peaceful. It's lovely, and it's quite a safe place. I think for anybody who walks dogs, you want to kind of feel that you're not in any danger, and it's a secure place in that there's lots of space for the dogs, but it's well kind of shielded from the road and other things. So there's, for lots of reasons really, it's a really nice place to be.
When the golf course was here, I only walked in one area, which was down tracks really. If you parked at the top on Woodlands Lane, you could walk down a track to the lake, and then we'd go around the lake and back up the other way. But you couldn't walk anywhere else, really. I mean, it wasn't a busy golf course, but there were always golfers around. Yeah, it's completely different now. Go anywhere.
This sort of area is now the sort of area I would have gone perhaps further afield to go to get away from the golf course, for instance. I'd do a lot in the Peak District, walking, etc. But now because it's on our doorstep, we can walk here in 10 minutes. So I feel like it's the sort of place I love coming to, and I come 5 days a week probably, at least 5 days a week. So toss up between here or Eyes Meadow, depends how tired I think the dog is. But here I'll come and I'll walk for perhaps 5 kilometres, and I spend quite a lot of time here, 1.5 hours, 2 hours maybe. So I just love it here.
Things are changing, we're losing habitats, we're losing species, so we have to adapt. And I think what we need to do is to work with those people that have influence. So I think we need to get plans in place of how we make our grey spaces greener, and lots of work that we can do individually and collectively, and as residents and of communities, and as, you know, people in families and individuals at school and children, just to encourage people to try and make as much as they can their local area better for wildlife.
I have a young family. We have a dog, Chester the Golden Retriever, so we're here every day walking the children, play in the woods and the park. I work as a mental health nurse, so, you know, only too well understand the importance of green space on human well-being, so it certainly helps me. I was recently diagnosed with autism actually at the age of 50, and looking back, definitely engaging with nature has been fantastic for my sort of mental well-being, without a doubt.
Funding a project like this is quite complicated, really. The most important source of funding for projects like this is from public donations. So people giving gifts, whether that's by being a member of a wildlife trust or another environmental group, or donating to appeals, or giving to people like the Friends of Allestree or other groups, that's a really important source of income. It might not be the biggest source. Grant funders and government funders are going to have more money, but actually public funding, people are much more generous and broad about what they want to see happen, and so it allows you to do interesting, speculative things on a site like this to help bring back nature that a more narrowly focused funder isn't going to allow for. So public funding is actually the most important aspect to that.